Circuspreneurs. This is your host, Shenea Stiletto, and welcome to the very little special episode of Why Do I and Why Do You Love the Circus Arts? Hashtag Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, I thought would be a wonderful day to discuss all the ways and the experiences, or at least some of them, of why I love being in the circus and what drew me to the circus, and a nice day to reflect on our love of the circus and reminding everyone that, of course, you might not like everything about an industry or an environment, but the reason that we want to fight so hard to change it is because we love it. And I think that the only way that you're able to change anything that you're in, whether it be a harsh relationship or gets whatever you want into the next stage of development, is because you love it. And sometimes love means walking away as well. Just want to put that out there, as this is not a podcast episode about how to function in a relationship, even though I have done a circus dating circus type relationship episode a few years back with the dating advice girl Erin Tillman. And if you go back onto Circus Talk or Stage Link now, you would be able to find that. You can also go onto my social media for the Circuspreneur Podcast or at Shenea Stiletto, wherever you're following the podcast on any platform. We're on every platform: YouTube, Apple Podcast, iTunes, Instagram, literally everywhere. And you can find little either the entire episode that is available still exclusively on Circus Talk, or you can find a little clip of that where we dived all into how challenging and how interesting and how different it is to date in the circus arts industry. And I've got some stories that I could share, personal, and then those of experiences. But I think that our industry is so unique and so interesting. And, to all of those out there that are listening to this episode that are separated from the one that they love and that they partner with, whether it be professionally or in the romantic sense or just exclusively, in companionship, because we all love in so many different ways. And I've seen that the most beautifully in so many ways in the circus industry, where folks really just do what they want in terms of relationship and could care less about you know um how the broader society views their relationships, which I think is just so beautiful, and so inspiring. And I get asked that a lot, actually, in my own experience in the circus industry. Almost the number one thing is, how do you keep a relationship together? How do you make a relationship work? What are relationships like? Your guys' lives, or some of you are touring a lot, or maybe your partner is touring a lot. Are you with somebody in the industry, or are you with somebody outside of the industry? How does that work? How do you negotiate your schedules and the dynamics of how unique your job is and how different is it? What are your biggest challenges? So I have found that I have some of the most colorful and really funny and kind of dramatic conversations with people when I discuss what my relationship experiences have been like, and then sharing relationships experience. So anyway, it's not really what this episode was, but I think it was important to give a little nod, and a wink to that, because it is Valentine's Day. And, I think that circus relationships are super innovative, from what I've seen over the years and experienced, and can also, again, be very complex. But that's what makes us such unique individuals in this business and in this industry. So, my love of the circus came so many years ago. And I was so fortunate to grow up in a competitive space that had circus inside of it. My coaches that are from Russia and Ukraine and Bulgaria, they were connected to the circus in ways that not a lot of competitive, acrobats spaces are. And so I grew up, watching so many different videos of circus festivals and circus competitions and circus shows. And they had these incredible archives of the circus arts, which I thought was, just so beautiful and so inspiring at that time. And that was, before even I saw a lot about Cirque du Soleil, for example. I got to see, all of the circus that was existing all over Europe, from years and years and years before when I was really, really young. And then, of course, again, my exposure came through Cirque, through my coaches who were sending their athletes to Cirque for so many years prior to them working with me, and how they really inspired that path, and started taking me to shows, and I started to watch acrobats that competed ahead of me or that competed alongside of me, and started to go and visit them during their shows or during creations. And then obviously I started performing in circus when I was still really little, when I was competing. And that's a way that we would earn money, to be able to compete, in acrobatics or acrobatic gymnastics. It has so many different names now: sports acro gymnastics, acro. There's so many places that my sport has gone to, and I love reflecting on the crossover between how many people came from the sporting world, and made some of the most amazing shows that you've ever seen circus wise, and how impactful that was for my experience growing up and seeing that, and then being scouted, by Cirque from such a very young age as a minor, and then, performing essentially on the side, during that high competitive season or off season. And, the impacts that had on me with, really my entire life being shaped by this industry of the potentials and what was possible, and on such like a global level, because I was seeing the most of, circus come in so many different forms. I remember, going to Ringling when I was really little. My parents loved taking us to the circus, and at that time there were animals, and I have pictures from when I was little of riding elephants. And obviously that era has mostly passed, but that was again something that was part of my life, even before I got into sport, to define this love that I had and this passion of seeing, wow, I can really take my background and my skills, and it doesn't have to end there, because for so many people that I was around, particularly in America, they imagined that previously, not in the time that there is now, where you can go on to AGT and go on to all these different shows, and show off doing acro and everything. It was starting, but it wasn't what it is now. And so that was really a cool and interesting pathway of saying, like, wow, I can make this my career, because I can't go to NCAA and compete as a collegiate gymnast, because my sport doesn't allow that, because we don't have NCAA recognition yet. Not fully, but it is coming, and there are pockets of it. I always like to respond back to people saying, oh, but there's a little bit of this here and a little bit of that there. And I'm looking forward to the day where that does happen. But anyway, back to the circus arts. And back to the way that, I just remember seeing the various performers that inspired me, so much, and growing up with them and meeting them and knowing them, and seeing their journeys through circus and through the shows that they did, and thinking, one day I'm going to do that act. One day that will be me. And one day, I'm going to be able to express myself in those ways, and take my technique and take my skill level, and have someone mold me and shape me. And one day I'm going to be able to develop my own ideas on stage, which I've done, and, take the ideas that I have in my own mind, and get them stage ready and promote them, and, get folks to want to have me, in their shows, and to participate as an artist, because the development of an artist is a very special and unique thing, and to me, that's one of the most valuable things that I've ever experienced as well. And the amazing setup I have coming from my particular form of gymnastics that is so performing. arts based, and that is so beautifully artistic, where a routine can just have a few tweaks here and there, and then suddenly it can go on stage. I mean, that's a rare thing for a sport, to be able to have that particular type of crossover into the arts. And so, once I started, I never looked back, and I knew that this would always more or less be my path, even though, I had all of the other experiences with people telling me you have to get a real career eventually, or a real job, or what are you going to do when you stop doing this, which is what you get your entire life. What are you going to do when you can't do circus anymore? What are you going to do when your time is up? When your circus career is just, I mean, it's not like you always hear it's not like you're 15 anymore. Um, which I've always rebuked that ever since I was little. And I think that coming from this space of people telling me since I'm the age of like 14 that I just have a few years left to enjoy this thing that I love to do, and that I've learned to excel at, has been a great jumping off point for me, and just owning where I've been at in any stage of my career. Because if you're lucky, I tell everyone, you'll get to several stages of your career if you're lucky, if you're fortunate, and that your career never really ends. It just kind of transforms, and you should follow it where it's trying to take you. And it doesn't always have to be the same way that it has been. And that's been really great advice for me over the course of my circus arts career, and what has allowed me to continue to try to find new ways to love the circus arts industry and to be a circus artist. In this field, in a field that is ever evolving and changing, and you have to grow and evolve with it. And how fun that can be, and how painstaking that can be, to try to push yourself as an artist, and going in and out of shows, and working with so many different employers and directors and choreographers, and pulling and moving into so many different backgrounds, and allowing that to kind of overwhelm your life and take you over. And learning how to carry yourself in this environment has been one of the things that I have loved the most, being a professional, and taking this work very seriously, because it is an industry, and then taking it into levels of advocacy as a performer, as I still am a performer, has also been a unique journey, advocating for this industry. I could have done it after I decided to stop performing, right? When I was no longer trying to be a competitive artist in this space, an industry worker. But I decided that, I didn't want to wait for that, and that I wanted to experience the changes of this industry while still being an active participant on the stage, which is how I started, and which is how I love to be, even though I wear so many different hats in this industry. My love of performing comes first, and going and exploring this industry all over the world, like I have and continue to, is also what keeps me advocating so much, because I'm so inside of it that I continuously come up against those similar challenges that other people are feeling, being in the industry. And all of our challenges are unique and different, and not all the same, which is in any industry, in any field. But there are unifying factors within our industry that are very consistent. And that's why I continue to perform and advocate at the exact same time, no matter how challenging and difficult it is. I continue to do that, and to say the things out of love for this industry, out of deep love for the people that have been in this industry, and that have shaped this industry, and that have worked so hard to make this industry what it is, off of their own backs, off of their own merit, off of their own skill, off of their own time, off of their own families, and respecting that, respecting the lineage that I've gotten to, like, hold space for, and have coffee with, and, and talk, and then respecting your own lineage that you have in a space that you're in. However long you have been in it, you are now creating your own lineage. Lineage is something that continues, because your lineage matters to someone that's coming after you, or someone that's coming, that will potentially be here when your time has transitioned into something else very, very special within this industry. And I continue to encourage circus workers and circus people and circus folk, don't leave this industry entirely. Just come to it with something, in some other way, in some other way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be how it's always been. And obviously, we know that, or else the industry wouldn't be the way that it is now, right? My advocacy is informed. I've taken a very different route than I've seen so many folks that we've been on very similar paths in our career, for example, and have pivoted and are doing very different things now with our circus experience and our circus knowledge. And so, I hope that you enjoy Valentine's Day celebrating your relationship to the circus and your soulmate love to the circus arts, because believe me, it's got to be soulmate love if you're in it and if you stay with it. I always tell people, yeah, a marriage of the circus arts is not for the faint of heart, but the amount of joy and pleasure that we're able to bring people all the time with just the simple things that we do. I mean, people light up when I just say that I'm in the circus. When I say that I'm in the circus arts, that enough is just an amazing way to exist and live your life, where you have to say one word and people get excited. That's never lost on me. Even when I'm going through challenges in my life or even challenges in my career, because you will face challenges in your career at some point. Maybe they won't be on a 10. Maybe some people's challenges will be at a 15. Maybe yours will be at a 7 or a 4 or a 3. It's who knows? It's all, we can't say. But when I come back to thinking about those early days of me thinking about being on stage and the love from the audience, the impacts, the conversations after the show, the conversations after your act, and the things that people say about how you've inspired them so much in their life in that moment. And you can't know where that inspiration is going to go. And sometimes it actually comes back around and you see that inspiration, what it looks like a few years later. I've had people say that as well. Again, you've inspired my journey, you've inspired my career, you inspired me, to double down on certain things that I've wanted to do, and showing me like how multifaceted a circus artist can be, or a circus worker can be, or someone coming from the competitive space can be, and how, your career can continue to last if you tend to it, if you take care of it, if you respect it, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. It comes down to the respect that you have for your circus arts career in any capacity, because I'm just speaking about there are so many roles that you can have in this industry. I mean, it's absolutely boundless. And that's what continues to make it precious and valuable. And I think that, again, it comes back to our love for it, means that we want to do everything we can to lift it up in the ways that it deserves, in the ways that it can be protected, in the ways that it is equitable for everyone involved, in the way that we preserve the sense of humanity in circus, and in the ways that we, want circus arts to level up and level up like all the other industries are leveling up around us. We don't want to be left behind. We know our worth, we know our standards. And, by continuously coming together with those standards and being powerful as a collective in our industry, because we're powerful together. We are more powerful together. And I can't say that enough. When you're on the same page with your partner or in the circus or whoever you're working with or whoever you're in dialogue with, that is when you are the most powerful in anything that you do, in anything that you do. And you're also the safest when you do that. Imagine when you're not on the same page as your partner in circus, what that is or what that could turn into. I've experienced that one or two times, and my face has suffered because of that. Unfortunately, I've got some stories, where either one of you were just not on the same page and not running in sync with each other. So that is the drastic form. But the short form of that is that you don't give justice and love and credibility where credibility is due. And that's what we need to continue to do with the circus arts industry. Let's talk a different game. It's just like when you're in a relationship and it's not going well, and one of you is just not carrying your weight. One of you is evolving and growing. The other one just feels like they can phone it in. Let's not phone in our circus arts industry. Let's not allow other people to do the work for us, like what other people may get caught up in their own personal relationships, when someone else is willing to do the things for you that the other people or person won't do for you. And how that starts to, breed difficult things. So we don't need others to do for us what we can do for ourselves in our relationship with the circus arts industry. We've got the tools, we've got the experience, we've got the knowledge. Everyone is so intelligent and creative and beautiful in this industry. I see it all the time. And so let's not work against ourselves. Just like you don't want to work against yourself in your own relationship, let's not work against ourselves when it comes to supporting our industry and getting it through to the next phase of development that it deserves. So celebrate Valentine's Day. Celebrate the circus arts, celebrate your relationship to the circus arts. I appreciate everyone for listening in to this Valentine's Day special of the Circuspreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Shenea Stiletto, and I'm just sending you all of my love and all of my support and sending you my circus heart as well.